Let it start. Okay, we are live. And so anybody listening to the webinar recording, you're listening to the preliminaries as Ron and I get warmed up and get set up. And we will see. I don't see. There's a lag in everything. And I'll mention that right away. So sometimes Ron might ask for somebody to type in the chat, and that will take several seconds before that happens. It's the same kind of lag you see on TV news when they do a remote broadcast. So, and there's 3 people online. So there we go. So we are starting to bring people on and get signed up, and maybe they'll hear me talking and or Ron talking. Now there's 8 people online.
8 people.
Right. So we're good. We're operating.
Okay.
And, I'm just chatting along, doing what I always do is talk when I turn on the webinar, because that way later on when somebody's listening to the recording, they know something's happening. They're not sitting there watching me be quiet. Of course, I learned this through experience. But I will be doing the webinar today. Pretty soon after we get started, you'll see my little picture in the lower right-hand corner disappear. And that's just to give Ron maximum bandwidth on this. But I will be doing the behind-the-scenes controls, doing some stuff for him while he does the webinar. And as usual, we will wait till about 4:04, 4:05 before we actually start the webinar, just because there's people right now probably trying to get logged on, or whatever, they're running into some problem. And anybody who can hear my voice, please type into chat where you're from, who you are, your first name and where you're from. I'm already in there. Hello from Maine. And Ron, he's from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. And anybody else who can hear can type in the chat there. Let us know. Let us know. And now, Ron, you will see the lag time. So there it is.
There you go.
New Zealand. Hot dang, we're doing good. And Elaine from Iowa. So we're doing great. And Philly's online. Michael from Philadelphia, California. Angela from Iowa. And Ginny from Holland. You're really cooking, Ron.
Yeah, we got a lot of people.
But you're international.
I'm international. Yeah.
This is fun. This is always fun to see this. And great. So we have several people. And, of course, people around the world. There's over 200. From Berlin, we got Germany in there. All right. Unless that's like Berlin, New Hampshire, and I sort of doubt it. That's probably Berlin, Germany. And there's a couple of hundred, more than 200 people signed up for this. And many of them sign up so they can listen to the recording.
Okay.
So, and they do. And so, but yeah, we got several on. And it's 4:03, so in about 1 minute, I'll say go to Ron, and then I'll disappear, and I'll just stay in the background. And Ron can say, hey, Kevin, fire up a video or something. Hey,
okay.
From Langhorne, Pennsylvania. I've been there. Very cool place. So, see, and that's Bill probably just got logged on. So,
yeah.
Just letting people trickle in and get their internet connections squared away and all that good stuff. But it looks like it's feeling pretty good, Ron. So probably when I see the clock there, click over to 4:04, I'll let you go.
Okay.
We're at 4:03 right now, so getting close. And as we're coming on, if anybody else hears us, please type in your first name and where you're from. Bring a leg, right? All right. There we went, 4:04. So I'm going to disappear myself. I'm still going to be here, and Ron will be taking over. So, Here we go, Ron, you're on.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Ron Pizzo, and for the past 30 years, I've worked as a labor and employment lawyer. I'm also a certified coach, and I coach teams and leaders in the workplace, primarily around issues of diversity, human rights, dysfunctional work teams, general team problems. I've also dealt with a lot of teams dealing with harassment and things like that. I'm also a member of Dr. Kevin Polk's ACT Matrix Pro Social Mastermind class, and I use the ACT Matrix for all my workplace team coaching engagements. And what I'm going to do today is to share with you why this works and why you may want to think about using the Matrix for all your team coaching. So we're going to start by watching a YouTube video, which was produced by the Heineken Beer Company, called Worlds Apart. And before we start, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about this video. So it was an experiment, and the experiment was there were 3 groups of 2 strangers, and they each had opposing views. They had opposing views on transgender identity, on feminism, or climate change. They met for the first time, and each knew nothing about the other. And the purpose of the video was to see whether these people with different opinions and beliefs could actually have a discussion about their differences. And Kevin, I'm going to ask you to cue the video right now.
I would describe my political views as the new right.
I say that I'm left.
Feminism today is man-hating.
I would describe myself as a feminist, 100%.
I don't believe that climate change exists.
We're not taking enough action on climate change.
I think it's about time these people got off their high horse and started looking for credible problems that actually exist.
It's absolutely critical that trans people have their own voice.
That's not right. You can't, you're a man, be a man, or you're a female, be a female.
Women do need to remember that we need you to have our children.
Could I be friends with someone that says a woman's place is in the home?
Right, okay, well, I'm an expert at flat packs. If you have any trouble, just watch me.
So it looks like I've got your instructions here.
I think so.
Let me help you.
It's just that bit there.
Describe what it is like to be you in 5 adjectives.
Okay. Frustrating.
Dedicated.
Opinionated.
Lucky.
Ambitious.
Offensive.
Solemn. I have ups and downs.
Strong.
I don't want to say attacked. Misunderstood.
Name 3 things you and I have in common.
We're both male, we're both confident, and we're both loudly spoken.
We know each other better than people who've known each other for 10 minutes should.
You seem quite ambitious and positive, and you've got this really, got a glow. Do you know what I'm saying? Your aura's pretty cool.
I'm sensing, are you former military or something?
People have said that, but there is no history. So are you then ex-military?
Yeah.
If you're ex-military, I'm very proud of you already.
Well,
So
I grew up in a bit of a rough state. I've experienced homelessness. I've known what it's like to have absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely most grateful just for life.
We've only just met, but I think you're the sort of person that would listen to me and we'd have a discussion rather than an argument.
Yeah, you could hang out with, man.
let's go. My chance.
Goodness sake.
You're right, mate.
Fitter than I look.
Perfecto.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
So basically, I think we just built a bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here you are.
Each take a bottle and place it on its corresponding markings on the bar.
Attention, please now stand to watch a short film.
Feminism today is definitely an excuse for misandry, man-hating.
If somebody said to me that climate change is destroying the world, then I'd say that is total piffle.
So transgender, it is very odd. We're not set up to understand or see things like that.
I am a daughter a wife. I am transgender.
I feel like the battle for feminism definitely isn't done. The fight is never going to be over, if I'm honest with you.
You now have a choice. You may go, or you can stay and discuss your differences over a beer.
I'm only joking.
You're happy for a second then.
Well, I'm having a drink.
I'm having a drink.
Yeah.
I want to discuss.
Beer.
Yeah, beer and discuss.
Cheers.
At the end of the day, mate,
About
I've
reaching
enjoyed
out to
working
people,
with you.
yeah. And, you know, even if you wanted to convince people about your point, the productive thing to do would be to sit
It's
down and have a
engage, it's
beer.
engage.
I've been brought up in a way where everything's black and white, but life isn't black and white.
Yeah, I'm just me.
Yeah.
Smash the patriarchy.
I'll give you my mobile number, you give me yours, and we'll keep in touch. I'd have to tell my girlfriend that I'll be texting another girl. She might be a bit upset with that, but I'll have to get round that.
I'll have to tell my girl that
She'll have to lump it.
Okay. Okay, so good. So were you all able to hear that video? Okay, great.
Yeah, they can hear it. There's just a little lag to it.
Okay, I didn't get to hear it. I didn't realize my microphone was shut off, but I've heard it before.
Or you can read the subtitles. Okay.
That's right.
Yes,
I'm
we
good.
are. Okay, we are.
So the question I have for you is, why did this work? Why were people with such different views and opposite views able to sit down and discuss? And, you know, I've thought a lot about this. I thought about it in terms of the matrix and relational frame theory, and I think this is the answer. They started with a blank frame. Their opening premise was that they didn't know anything about each other. And then they added to their frame. They started to work together. They started building the bar stool. They had the icebreaker. They had the 5 adjectives to describe who they were, the name 3 things they have in common, and they built the bar. And I saw a number of you say, yeah, they really got to know each other first. And that was the key. And after the reveal, they got to see how, although they were different, they were very much the same. And I really like this quote. You'd be surprised how much you can have in common with someone completely different from you. And that's pretty cool. But the problem with team coaching is that you don't start with a blank frame. Team members are not meeting for the first time. They're very much aware of their differences, and they're very much aware of their stuck stories. And when you bring them into the room, they're very much aware of what separates them and not what unites them. And I've had a lot of team coachings where, although this is a mediation slide, where it's been exactly like that. That's how it started. Judith sensed that mediation would take more than half a day that it had been scheduled for. I actually had a team coaching where people were sitting in swivel chairs and they all turned their backs to each other. So how do you get them to work? How do you get this team to be functional again? Well, luckily, and also we're wired to avoid. We are hardwired to avoid. And this is just something that's true of any conflict situation. When we're in conflict or not agreeing, we want to avoid. Even though avoiding may not be the answer, but that's that's our natural go-to. We've sort of, from our ancestors, from prehistoric days, avoiding was the best way to move away from danger. So we've got all these things working against us when we do team coaching. So what's the answer? Well, the answer is enter the matrix. And when I do matrix work, I have commandments I follow. And I'm going to give you the secret matrix commandments that are going to help you get your teams unstruck. The first one is, thou shalt never talk about the problem. I did coaching where, I'd get the leaders or the managers, the HR people, and they would give me instructions about what I should talk about and what I should say before I start a session. And I've always told them, I said, the last thing I would ever want to do is talk about the problem. And that takes people back. But trust me, you never, ever want to talk about the problem. The second thing is, you don't want to put anyone on the spot. You don't want to signal anyone out. You don't want to give voice to any one particular difference. You just don't want to do that. You don't want to criticize participants. So you want to leave it light, and I shall make it fun and light. So you want to keep it light. You want to keep it fun. And you want to make it look like you're talking about something that's other than why they think they're there. And I always start off by telling them that all we're going to do today, and the only thing we'll do today, is notice. We're going to notice things. And the with compassion part I keep to myself, but the noticing is how I start. So I say, I like to show you, so I start off with a basic matrix. And I say, I'd like to show you this basic matrix. I'd like to show you this point of view. It's a pretty cool thing that I do. And I'd like to see, and would you like to see it, right? And all we're going to do is noticing. I'm going to show you how it works. So, Kevin, if you could cue your matrix.
You mean, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You mean my diagram?
Yeah, your diagram.
Whiteboard. You mean my whiteboard?
Whiteboard. Do the whiteboard.
Okay, we got the whiteboard going.
Okay.
We're just going to put on top of this matrix.
Right. So I always start off with the question of who's important to you. And I'm going to ask you the same question to you, the rest of you. Who is important? What would you say?
They put it in chat.
Put it in chat, right? Oh, okay. Phil says wife.
We've got wife.
We got family from Michael. Parents, spouse, children. Anybody else? Anyone own a dog?
I know. I got Piper with me.
Right.
I'll say Piper.
Yeah, colleagues. Your pro-social colleagues. Colleagues are important. Partner. Yeah.
It's getting pretty full.
You're getting pretty full. Okay. Then I go to the next question. So what chose... Oh, and mother.
Oh, I can't leave mom out.
Can't leave mom out. Now, there's one person we seem to have left out here. Who would that be, do you think? How about you? Are you important to yourself? Or that would be me, right?
I'll put both.
Yeah, you, me. Great. So then I ask the question, the next question is, what sometimes shows up and gets in the way of who's important to you?
That's over here. What gets in the way?
Yeah, bottom left-hand corner. What gets in the way? And so what would you, the viewing audience, say gets in the way of who's important to you?
Frustration.
Frustration. Too much work. Yeah. The need to be right. That's a big one.
Oh no.
Time.
Too much time or too little time?
Probably not too many, right? Getting my point across. Rejection. Oh, we've got lots of good ones.
Oh man, they're killing me here. I can't go that fast.
Yeah, what's the problem there, Kevin? So what shows up and gets in the way is being too slow writing.
Actually, there's a lag time on the writing, so it's sort of weird. Fear showed up.
Yeah.
Fear.
That's a lot of good ones. Okay.
That's great. That's a good start.
That's a good start. So when these things show up, what do you do to move away from them? So another way I also reframe that question is, when these fears and frustrations and time, all these pressures show up, what do you do? What's your response? Argue. Complain.
Oh man, this is great.
Yeah.
I love it. We got argue, complain.
Not return calls.
That's a
Move away. Right.
Somebody said, "I'll just move away in general."
Yeah.
Move away. Not show up. Oh no.
Not show up. Well, I'm glad you showed up today, Phil.
So these are great. So
yeah.
Argue, complain, not show up, not return calls, move away.
Okay.
Let's see what. Okay. That's great. That's a good
list.
List. Yep.
And then I asked the question: are any of these things workable? In a sense, do they actually move you toward who's important to you?
Oh.
Like with moving away, would that help you move toward your mother?
Not any of these, probably. I don't know.
No.
It doesn't look workable to me. Not those.
No. So then I always ask the question: what could you do to move toward? What could you do instead to move toward who is important to you? New from Jenny.
Okay, toward.
Toward.
Who's important to us? What can we do? I'm going to put one in.
Okay.
Text. You can text them.
You can text them.
Yeah. What else can you do to move toward support?
Give my wife a hug.
I'll just put hug, okay?
Yeah. Call them.
Call. You bet. Text, hug, call.
Listen.
I'll put both of those.
Okay.
Go there. Go for a walk. I'll just
go for a walk. Yeah.
Yep. These are all great. Nice, simple, easy to do. Know you're doing them.
Yeah.
Prioritize.
Send a gratitude note.
Gratitude. I just say send gratitude. There's no way I can do all that.
Right.
Gratitude and prioritize.
Right. So when I feel in the matrix like this with the team, which is the first thing I do, I get them to step back, right? And I say, all these thoughts, feelings that you've had that showed up and get in the way, how many of you have all felt them?
Me.
Yeah, they all have, right?
Yeah.
And all these away moves, how many of you thought of doing them? Like, do any of these away moves look crazy or abnormal?
None of us ever do those, Rob.
No. And then we look at the toward moves. And so what I'm doing and what we're doing, and if you think about the video, is we get people who are not working together, who really have stuck stories, all of a sudden turn to this matrix, this very safe setting, this, I call it the individual loop 1 matrix, and start to have a conversation. And they start talking. And in this conversation, they start to realize that they're human beings, right? That most people have mothers, most people have children or spouses, family, most people might have pets. So they all have the same sorts of things who are important to them. They all have the same sorts of feelings show up. They all do the same sorts of away moves, and they can all think about the same sorts of toward moves. And that is very powerful in changing how they see each other in the room. And so when I do work with these very tough teams, the first thing I start to notice is that it's at this point that their chairs start to turn, that they start looking at the matrix, and that they start sharing this experience. This is sort of the same as the icebreakers that they use in the video. So by not talking about the problem, and by not even focusing about the problem, I've got them talking with each other. I've got them in a situation where they're interacting, which is way better than they were when they first started. And then we move into the second loop of the matrix, the act pro-social matrix. And maybe we can...
Another slide?
Yeah, that's another slide.
Okay, so I'll blank this out.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
There it is.
There's the pro-social matrix, right?
Okay, so I'll put in bigger letters here, shared purpose.
Shared purpose. Okay. So we start doing loop 2, and I ask them, I start by saying, what is our shared purpose? Now, I personally don't like to let them hang, right? I like to help them find a 1 or 2 sentence shared purpose. So what I do, I'm going to go to the next slide a second.
Okay.
Okay. This is the finding our shared purpose slide. And again, here I'm doing a lot of priming. So I asked the team, what do you do? And I could ask you, what are we doing, right? What are we doing here now? Right.
Well, let's see what they type in.
Right.
I typed in helping Ron.
Helping Ron. Okay, I'll type one in since I'm
Other people, come on. Other people.
learning about the pro-social matrix.
Oh, Phil said-
Learning.
There we go. Learning.
Okay, learning.
Right. There we
Great.
go.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So we've got.
Helping Ron and learning.
What else? What else is our shared purpose?
Yeah, so what are we doing? Jenny's learning also. Verbal Aikido.
Verbal
Okay.
Aikido. Woohoo! Good for you, Rodney.
So let's start with the learning, right? And who do we do it for? Who will benefit from this learning?
I typed in another, bringing the pro-social matrix to the world.
Okay.
Who'll benefit? Who'll benefit?
Yeah, who do we do it for? The world, right? So myself, yeah,
Right, myself. I'll put in the world.
yeah. Family, yeah.
Family,
And clients,
clients.
okay. That's so learning, For the world, myself, family, and clients. And what do the people we do it for want or need? So if you're going in to work with a dysfunctional team, what do they want or need?
Probably peace.
Peace. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't type that. Sorry.
No, you can type peace. Clarity of purpose.
Clarity. But, right. I'm going to back up and start writing some of this stuff again.
Harmony.
Oh, shit.
Those are all good.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, don't write stuff there yet,
why not?
because we're going to do a sentence.
Oh, you do it different than me.
I do it differently, yeah, a little bit.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Enjoyment. Okay. And how do the people we do it for benefit as a result of what we do? Well, some of it might be the same, right? Peace, enjoyment, harmony. Feeling the sense of doing good.
I said satisfaction.
Satisfaction.
Yeah. Cooperation.
Okay.
This is good stuff.
So then what I help them is I start to help the team with a sentence. I say, okay, so we're here at this presentation, the Pro-Social Matrix, to learn about the matrix for the world, myself, and my families, to bring peace and enjoyment and clarity of people, of harmony, to the people I do this work for, because it helps them benefit in that they are empowered, they're satisfied, and they have better team interactions. And so I say, how does that sound to you? So that they're more whole.
That's great to me.
So I am learning. I'm gonna write this down.
Oh, you gotta go back. Oh, you're writing it down. Okay.
I'm writing it.
You have to quote it to me so I can write it down.
Yeah, I'm writing it down first, right?
Okay.
So I'm just writing here a second, and I'll dictate to Kevin, right?
I'm going to go back to the slide.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold on, I'm erasing that because I think I'm going to need more room. I'm ready.
Okay. Here we go. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. I am learning the ACT Pro-Social Matrix.
I'm going to abbreviate that to Pro-Social Matrix. I am learning the Pro-Social Matrix.
Right.
I'm also stealing room out there. Okay,
Sure.
got that part.
For the world, myself and teams in trouble. So for the world, myself and teams. Because they need peace and clarity of purpose. To have harmony and team satisfaction.
Whoops, I screwed that up. Oh, clarity of purpose. Now give me that last part.
To live in harmony and in satisfaction.
Got it.
Okay. So one of the homework things I do at the end is to actually give them the statement and tell them to work on it. But then here we stop, right? We stop and I read it to them a number of times. And I'll read it over and over again. I am learning, so I'll read the statement and I'll say, how does that feel to you? And when you read that statement, what are you noticing?
Ooh. That's
powerful. Yeah. So what I'm priming them for, do they do homework as a group? Well, they can, and sometimes we'll decide that at the end. Actually, we'll talk about that, right? We'll talk about if they're going to work on the sentence, how they're going to work on it. I get very specific. I say to them, when are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? How will I know? Are you going to meet as a team? Are you going to go away individually or then come back together? So we'll get that all squared away. And in fact, what we may do is we may spend 15 or 20 minutes just working on the sentence before I give it to them. But that really grounds them in the sense of purpose of what they want to do. So this is our team statement. I've had statements, for instance, I did this with a group of lawyers, and they said, you know, we do legal services for our clients because they have real legal problems that they need resolved, and through our work, we ensure that, you know, there's fairness, that, you know, that people are treated fairly, that laws are respected, and this is an important foundation for our society. So when they start to understand that their work has a bigger purpose, it's suddenly, when they juxtapose that bigger purpose to what they know their problems are, suddenly the problems don't seem as big as the purpose. And that goes a long way to getting people unstuck even before you do the other quadrants of the matrix. So then I give them the killer question after we come up with this sentence. The killer question is actually the fifth one, is how do we have to be as a team to achieve this purpose? So the being is like, do we have to be collaborative, for instance? Do we have to be, work together? Do we have to be trusting with each other? So again, I'm not telling them what this team particularly needs to do, but I'm getting them to think about what does a team generally need to bring about the purposes. And you'll hear words like collaborative, working together, trusting. And I just write those words down because they realize to...
Upper right?
No, that's still in the bottom right, because it's still about their purpose, how they have to be. Well, it could be upper right. There's nothing wrong with that either.
I'll put it in both places.
Okay.
So collaborative.
Working together.
Now I can't.
Okay. And trusting.
Keep going.
Collaborative, working together, and trusting.
Those are all behaviors.
Yeah. So then, after we've done that, I ask them the question, the pro-social matrix act question. What unwanted stuff do you think can show up inside of teams that can get in the way of moving toward their shared purpose? And then again, I'm not talking about any one particular team member. I'm just getting them to speculate essentially what unwanted things do they think could show up inside of group or team members. And the sneaky thing about that question is that this is where they actually start talking about the problem without talking about the problem. So Phil wrote down jealousy.
Kevin's writing down ego.
Kevin's writing down ego. That's a big one. So what else do you think can show up and get in the way of team members that affect you, that prevent you from moving towards your shared purpose? The need to be right.
Oh, who was that? Rodney. That's a good one.
Rodney, yeah. And Jenny also said ego.
Hey, Jenny and I are the ego folks. Right.
Yeah. And Rodney says turfism.
Turfism. I love it. I love it. Okay. I might appear inadequate.
Inadequate.
I'm just going to put fear of inadequacy.
Yeah, fear of change.
Okay, we're just going to circle fear here.
Fear.
Fear.
Okay.
Apathy. Hey.
Apathy.
Okay. How'd you get apathy in there? Yeah. Yeah.
And so then I asked the next question: what might group members do to move away from the unwanted inside group stuff? So like when ego shows up or fear shows up, what do you do? How do you react? What do you do to move away from these feelings?
Jenny says dive.
Dive.
I'm going to put cell phone.
Cell phone, using your cell phone.
Get on your cell phone, right.
Right.
That's another one. Argue, you bet. There we go. Argue.
Surfing, argue.
We got retreat. You bet. Retreat is great.
Yeah.
Surf the net. Yeah, and a cell phone and surf the net. There we go. Go my own way. Hell with
right.
You. Go my way. Check out, gaze out the window. That's an old classroom behavior I used to do often.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the avoiding things.
Yeah.
Then, what I say to teams, I say, look at your away, the inside feelings and the away moves. And I say, do they seem similar to what you did in the other matrix? Ego, fear, anger, or do we have similar unwanted feelings that show up and get inside? And do we do similar away types of moves? And 90%, well, almost 100% of the time, they are. Then I say, great, you're all human. This is who we are. We're human beings. And we're all trying to do good. So then I say, so let's start to notice what you could do to move toward the shared purpose. So they have their shared purpose sentence. And they say, so what can we do instead to move toward? Talk. They also get a hint based on the being part, how we have to be. Talking, discuss openly. Yeah.
You're just going to have to talk it out. My whiteboard went away. I don't know what I did.
Okay. Listen to dissenting views. So we start to notice all these toward moves.
Well, I lost all of that, but we have it. What are the
We have it. Okay. And then I start talking about definite things that they're going to do. So we start talking about these toward moves, and we start saying, in your circumstance, what is the one thing that we are actually going to do to move toward? So if, for instance, if we pick the open up to others, and I'd write, that's what Jenny just sent. If that's the one thing we're going to do, then I work from that and I drill down and I say we need to have the SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, time activated, and realistic. So what do we mean by opening up to others? What are we going to do? How will we know that we've done that?
Oh, cool.
So what would the one thing be? What would it look like? If I'm going to open up to others, what would we actually do?
So we have a listen.
We'd listen. Reveal difficult Reveal difficult things.
Reveal. Ask for help.
So, and I might help them a bit further. I might say, okay, are we going to have a meeting where we do these things? For instance, if we're going to reveal difficult things, are we going to sit back and pick a time where we're all going to meet and talk about it? Are we going to, if thing is for asking for help, is there some protocol that we're going to use to say this is me moving toward asking for help? How will we know? So it has to be specific. So we really try to drill down and.
I'm going to write that as be specific.
Be specific. So sometimes to facilitate discussion, they say we want to talk more, we want to listen to each other. So I've suggested, sometimes what are you going to do to make sure this happens? For instance, you could get together as a group and have coffee before the day starts. I give them suggestions. I don't say that they have to do any of these, but I'm saying that's one way we know that we're moving toward. Is that something you might want to do? What else might you want to actually do? So it could be the coffee, right? It could be having a meeting time. They said that some people said they'd set aside 15 minutes every day to do a certain thing, to have a silly talk or something like that. I don't know, but play games. Yeah. Setting aside time to play games. Now, of course, each group will do what it needs to do based on its particular context and circumstances. I did work with a group of HR people, and their specific thing was to, for instance, agree to work in pairs on certain difficult challenges or in groups. Having social time, like a barbecue, those are all things that people could agree to do. So then what I do at the end of it all, I will write out their agreements. And I will send them to each team member. I will send a report. I will say, here's your shared purpose. Here's how your team has to be, or you said you have to be to achieve this shared purpose. Here are some things you agreed to do to try to move toward your shared purpose. And then I always leave them with this one. So I'd say everything we do here is like, I use the piano teacher analogy. I say, when you first go to learn to play the piano, if the piano teacher gave you a complicated piece of Tchaikovsky and said, play it, would you be able to play it? No. So how do you learn to play the piano? Well, the teacher gives you a few notes and a few scales, and you practice them. And then you go back, and the teacher says, how was that? And you say, well, this worked, and I had trouble with this one. Okay, so we're going to give you some other homework. We're going to keep what works. We're going to get rid of what doesn't work, and we're going to give you some new homework. I said, this is what we're doing with the matrix. We're starting with something. We're going to come back. I'm going to ask the question, did it work? And I'm going to ask it in the context of the matrix. If it didn't work, what showed up and got in the way? What did you notice? What did you do instead? What could you do to move toward who or what is important to you or your shared purpose? What do we have to modify? What do we have to add? And by that time, we've spent a whole day. And we're all tired.
Yeah.
And so that brings me to...
I'm going to blank out all this stuff.
Yeah, the last question is, do you have any questions? The last slide, which I forgot to add.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I don't see that one. Okay.
No, I don't see that one either.
Jenny says, have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But I think that was before.
That was before.
Not a question.
No. What you'll find is that by the time you start getting through most of the matrix and start talking about our shared purpose, people will invariably start talking to each other.
All right, I have a question.
Right.
It's a leading question. How does this exactly, not exactly, but sort of kind of relate to the Heineken commercial?
Well, the way this relates to the Heineken commercial and also to this notion of dealing matrices, we each come to this thing with our own matrix, with our own points of view. And each individual in the Heineken commercial came to that meeting with their own point of view. Divergent points of view on feminism, divergent points of view on transgender, on climate change. When we start talking about the shared purpose and we start talking about noticing that we do have a shared purpose, although we're different, noticing that we all have the same fears, we all have the same emotions that show up and get in the way, that we all react to conflict the same, but that we all really want to move toward, to make things better. When they see that commonality despite their differences, we're actually adding to the frame. So we're seeing the person on the other side of the table is not just someone we had a difference with, but someone who we actually want to try to work with, or someone who we want to try to create a team environment with. And psychologically, we'd much rather be working together because our minds are wired to connect than we want to be working at cross purposes. So, and that's what the Heineken commercial showed. I mean, although you may have your differences, there's a lot that connects you. In the end, you're all human beings, and you all want the same things in many ways. So that's how they relate.
Fabulous. Have a Heineken and talk. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I want to flip your slides back because you got that great quote. Wasn't that in there, that quote in there?
One more. That one.
You'd be surprised how much you can have in common with someone completely different. And the first loop of the matrix does that for you.
Yeah. Okay. So my direction to you, my homework to you, you who are here listening to me on this video, here's my homework. I'm assigning homework now. And the homework is, as Jenny suggested, you all go have a Heineken right now.
Oh, no.
And then report back and tell me if it was good or not.
I'll have to go to the store and get a Heineken.
Yep.
What if we have more Heinekens? Oh, more than one Heineken. Uh-oh.
Well, we'll review the homework and we'll see what worked and what didn't work. Maybe more Heineken are better, right? So you never know.
Best homework I ever had. Oh, yeah, that's great. I wish sometimes I liked beer. Well,
Well,
we could
Rodney,
we could substitute.
that's right. So we'll modify the homework. What else would you like to have to drink?
I like root beer.
Root beer. Okay. Heineken or root beer?
That's fun homework. That's great. Good stuff. This is great.
Great. Okay.
So, and that was, and by the way, folks that are listening, Ron really does this work. This is not, he's not talking theoretically. He does this. And it works very well for him. So, and it's a great example. His way of doing it is slightly different than my way of doing it, but it's still the two loops around the matrix.
Always do the two loops.
Yeah. Everybody listening, do yourself a favor. When you go meet with a group of people, do the two loops of the matrix. You'll be glad you did. Even if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about right now or what Ron's talking about right now, later on after you do those two loops with a group, you'll go, wow, I'm glad I did that. Because it gives you a launching point.
Yeah.
Well, there's more than one way, but the basic, nice thing to start with two loops. Nice way to start.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Well, many people, anybody on right now, in 24 hours or so, you'll get a link to the commercial. Between now and then, I will have uploaded this to YouTube for the commercial, for the webinar, sorry. I'll have uploaded it to YouTube, and it'll be there. And for the people who are like Ron in the Pro Social Matrix Mastermind group, I'll also post this up in the course. So it'll get posted in more than one place.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you listening to me.
Thank you. This was great. We'll be back again. Okay. Bye-bye now.
Okay. Bye.